BeTheTalk, episode 267, featuring Donna Stoering. Welcome to BeTheTalk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Donna Stoering. Donna, are you ready to talk?
Absolutely.
Well, Donna Stoering is a lifelong concert pianist, an award-winning recording artist, and social entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and the founder of Listen for Life. Listen for Life is a global movement inspiring and empowering musicians to use their gifts in the service of others. Donna Stoering, welcome to the talk.
Thank you so much.
So your talk...
Great to be here.
Your talk is called Listen for Life, the Power Within Music to Change Our World, or it was also called Change Your Music, Change Your Life. This was an interesting hybrid talk because usually you either have a talk or you have a performance, which also counts as a talk. And the first thing you did was sit down and start playing Rachmaninoff's Prelude in, I think, C-sharp minor, which is a great piece. So I lost track after a dozen of these pieces. You were playing concerti, you were playing different solo, a little boogie woogie in there, a little Flight of the Bumblebee jazzified, some Gershwin, all kinds of stuff. I don't know if you can tell, but I have a conservatory degree. I was taking notes. It was a delight, but I'd love for you to take us behind the talk, Donna.
Well, the talk on TEDx was actually called Intentional Listening.
Oh.
It was a different talk. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it wasn't my idea. I'm not taking credit for that idea at all.
Oh, my word. So that wasn't your idea. That would be one of the hardest things. If you can imagine Talk Universe, how you play these things flawlessly. She's talking as she's playing these pieces. There's a reason that you don't talk when you're playing the piano, these pieces. So, and it wasn't even your idea. So you must be an unbelievably flexible person to be able to take someone else's idea. Why did you decide to do that? You landed it, you pulled it off, but why did you decide to put yourself through that, Donna?
I just thought it was a really great idea. It was my coach, that TEDx has you work with a coach. And
yeah.
My coach said, we were talking about being yourself and sharing who you are. And I said, well, if they have a piano, I could actually start the talk with something just to open it up and grab the topic in an interesting way. And he said, wait a minute. Can you play and talk at the same time? And I said, well, little snippets, I've done that, but you mean the whole talk? And he said, yeah. And I thought, I'm always up for a challenge. Okay.
My word. I mean, this Talk Universe, this was the equivalent of like it's like an America's Got Talent type. I don't mean to demean because there's kind of an amateurish kind of offbeat nature to some of these reality shows. But I mean, it's like juggling and patting your tummy while riding a unicycle around and doing a hula hoop. And at a very, very, very high level, because Donna has been a prodigy, a concert pianist. You've got your entire reputation up there. And it's like a 18-minute or 16-minute masterclass where I've seen people in a coaching situation rattle off, perfectly on the piano while teaching someone on the stage that everyone's watching and be able to talk over that. But this was you performing. This was not a little bit of a casual, the expert is giving the advice. This is your talk. So somebody had a great idea of that. I'm just trying to listen here. It seems like the coach, great idea. I don't know. Do you think that the coach had any idea the level of challenge that he or she was suggesting to you with that little pithy comment right there?
I hadn't thought about that. Maybe a little bit, but absolutely not to the fullest extent, because when we came back and did the first round, via Skype, he was kind of, wow, I didn't realize how amazing that would work, but how hard. And the real challenge was getting it down, because the particular TEDx place I was doing, the TED Talk was, they had to be extremely tight with the timing.
Yes.
And so that was the most nerve-wracking part, was if I do 5 minutes, 5 notes over, or I don't time the words that I want to say exactly with the piece to fit exactly where I want it to be, to mean the direction we're trying to go, then the talk's going to run 20 seconds over or whatever. So I had to nail it every time.
Yes, you did.
And that took a lot of rehearsals to get it down. I think the first time we did it, it was like 40 minutes. And then every time we wheedle down and wheedle down and wheedle down. So.
Well, this is very meta, because as an artist, you're bringing in, I mean, you're talking about the joy of Chopin, and you're playing, I don't know if that was a Polonaise or a waltz of Chopin, or what excerpt that was. It was a waltz. Okay. And then you had the joy of Mozart, and you had a different style right there, you know, from 100 years prior, but you have the best piece in your repertoire that you selected for whatever piece of your talk you were talking about, and then you're talking over it, and then you have to time the excerpt so that it works, and then you have to be a good speaker. You have to be a good speaker. And if they gave you, you know, what, I've got it, I had it pulled up a second ago, 16 minutes, 17 minutes, or whatever it is, you have to be down to the second or below. And, I mean, the logistical challenges, I think can only be appreciated by other people that have been good, you know, amateur or professional pianists, or have developed cultivated a real appreciation for that. So this is fun. This is a really extra meta episode of Be the Talk with Donna right now, because she pulled off something that was just amazing. Just really, really amazing. What was the of all the things that we're talking about, what was the most difficult part of that for you? Because you've got all of these Herculean challenges. I am glad to close that loop that the coach eventually realized what he had put you through with that comment and idea. I mean, did his eyes get big, or did he pick his jaw off the floor, or what was the reaction?
Yeah, probably all of the above. He's a nice guy. He's very, very positive, very encouraging person, and he's a great coach. He travels all over doing this for different organizations. So yeah, he was great. Some of the challenges. Well, actually, in this particular talk, when it actually happened, they had the, what would you call it? Sort of the fanny pack voice box, you know, wired through my top, and
the microphone.
For the microphone.
The microphone. And so the clip-on mic.
You know, things, because we had to have sound on the piano. We had to have sound on me.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It was a weird setup for them as well.
Yeah.
Because they had to roll the piano out just for my talk after somebody else's talk and get it on and everything. So anyway, they say go, and I walk out, and we had it timed so that I would start my talk sort of as I go towards the piano, right? And so I sat down, and I opened up, and I started playing and started speaking, and they stopped me, and they said the battery on the mic pack isn't working, and we're going to have to start over. Would you please go off stage? So then I had to go off.
The false start. Oh, Talk Universe. Donna went through the false start. So how did you recoup that? Yeah, we call that the false start. Now, as a pianist, you're unless you break a string, which happens a lot, you don't get a false start as a concert pianist, right? Like, you're there with the orchestra, you know, I mean, it's like you've got to be on. Doesn't matter what's going on, you know, you got to be on. But in a branded talk like a TED Talk, they can do that to you. So it's a little unsettling. So where did you draw from, you know, your performance background, all of these, what was going through your mind? How did you pull it back together to come on the second time?
I was just really glad that it had happened to me and not to someone else among the speakers, because I've been artistic ambassador for different countries and traveled all over the world as a keynote speaker for the UN and different, organizations, as well as being a concert pianist since I was 5. So I have the experience. It's just part of my life to not get rattled of something like that. But I would have felt bad for someone else. And also it actually ended up being a, I guess, blessing, you'd say, in disguise, because the audience didn't know all that. And so they were really with me from the first second I restarted, because they were petrified that I was going to feel nervous or upset about it. So I really was fortunate to have extra connection with everyone in that packed audience.
Powerful stuff.
Or listening very intently, which is what I was trying to talk about, was how do you listen?
Powerful. So now that piece about the UN ambassador, I didn't see that on the bio. Maybe it cut that off. I need to have stuff like that in the bio. Tell me a little bit. Was that was related to your skills as a concert pianist? What I'm assuming, or was that in addition to that? How did that come about for you?
I was living in London and artist in residence at Oxford University, and was invited to what I like to travel to different countries as an artistic ambassador for the UK at that point. But then in my travels, I ended up also serving in that role for the USA, just in my travels and in speaking invites. Some of the speaking invites came from founding Listen for Life 20 years ago, and it's still going, and it's in, maybe 55 countries. So, for example, the UN organizations asked me to address them about the use of music for cross-cultural communication or humanitarian issues. Because the whole idea of Listen for Life is showing both music listeners and other musicians how music is a very powerful tool. It is not commercial background noise or entertainment. It can be a very powerful tool. And my whole goal for the future is to do what I can to help musicians and listeners see the potential for that power, so that maybe 2 generations from now, musicians are seen as the influencers rather than just or only the celebrities or the government bodies or the politicians or the educators. Musicians and artists see the world, see their society in such unique ways and powerful ways as prophets and healers, that they need to take their voice, even if they're not major celebrity musicians as such, and they're working in a field of music that doesn't get as much global airplay. But if it represents their culture especially, they need to be able to have that voice and to be seen by themselves as well as their listeners as very important pieces spiritually and intellectually in their communities. And right now that doesn't exist. So.
Well, we've been talking to Donna Stoering about her foundation, Music for Life, and her talk, Listen for Life. And we've been talking about her talk, Intentional Listening, Music's Power as a Channel of Communication. And we're going to pivot over to you, Talk Universe, and we're going to do that right now in just a moment over in the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we are live again with Donna Stoering. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Donna a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent talk. Donna, are you ready?
sure, with something we didn't cover already in this.
Well, here the blitz round questions. First off, were you invited to speak or did you apply?
Invited.
And this is funny. Are you a memorizer, improviser, or a blender? I'm just going to let that one sit. Which one are you?
Probably blender.
You know, do you think it was all three? Because you have the music. I mean, it's like that with your talk. I asked that question. It's like, I think all three, but you're blending the whole thing up in meta blending upon blending ways. You know, what was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out?
Ooh, probably 10 other musical segments that I really wanted to share that showed a particular point of music's purpose in life, but there was just no room.
Yeah, well, that would have been a marathon for sure. Did you have like a hierarchy of, you know, pieces, or was it, I mean, was it more the text determines the music, the things that you said and the music that matched up with that, and then the bottom 10 had to go, the bottom 10 pieces, or was it some other way that you determined?
No, you're right. It was the text determined the pieces. We changed the entire talk from scratch 3 times. And the last time I...
from scratch? You rebuilt that whole thing from scratch 3 times.
Yeah. Because there were too many different directions I wanted to go from. And so by having totally different talks, we had totally different pieces. And the pieces were chosen partially for the rhythm and speed of the pieces, because I had to be able to time my phrases with that particular rhythm. I found that it was much harder to talk to specific rhythms than other rhythms, just the cadence of the voice speaking. Right? Yeah.
Well, that would be, man, I can appreciate the complexity of it. So can a lot of our listeners, and even those that can't, they still can empathize, with that, whether they have the personal experience of that or not. Now, you mentioned the, what did I call it? The false start and coming out again. So not including that, what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened before or during your talk?
Okay. I have never had this happen before, but it was due to the air conditioning in the building and probably nerves, but my mouth went completely dry. I have never in all my years of speaking had that happen. Never. And my roof of my mouth stuck to the rest of me. And I felt like I was saying, and I really swore when I came off. You know, everybody was wonderful. The audience went nuts and all that. And I came off and my husband came up to me and he said, that was great. And I said, are you kidding? I couldn't speak a single word. I couldn't pronounce anything. My mouth was stuck together. And he goes, no, I didn't hear that. And I had to go back and listen to the talk, which took forever for them to edit so I could actually hear it. Before I believed that you could actually understand any of the words I said.
Well, this is amazing. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, why wouldn't that happen to Donna? Because you're playing. You're not, you know, you're not like a soprano accompanying yourself. Or I mean, when have you given a talk during a mashup recital excerpt? You've never.
I've actually had concerts where I've sung and accompanied myself.
Oh, you have? Oh, well, Talk Universe, I spoke too soon.
But it was just, they told me that it happened to some people there because of the air conditioning or something to dry you out. I don't know.
Well, okay, so I have a solution. I have a solution for Donna as well as all the rest of you in Talk Universe that are going to, you know, whether maybe you're a violinist or maybe you're a singer and you're going to give a talk while you're doing opera excerpts or arias or something. I'm being a little silly right now, but a really, really, really long straw. And you could rig up a straw with, you know, a thing of water off stage a little or off to the side. Because you can't use your hands. That's the point of my long-winded joke here. I mean, Donna, come on.
Right. I could not reach
you're stuck. You'd have to have like a page turner or a bottle swigger person off to the side.
The other challenge was that
you know,
some of the TEDx or TED speakers have a prompter. at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at a piano. I have no prompter. I have nothing to look at. So I had this little teeny cheat sheet rigged up, but then we decided there was nowhere to put it. So I just had to remember where I was going.
Oh, my gosh. Hey, well, this has been the Blitz Round with Donna Stoering. Her talk is called Intentional Listening, Music's Power as a Channel of Communication. If you want to check out what we've been talking about, and she's been pretty good natured at some of my poor jokes, just because I understand a lot of what she.
More about your conservatory.
Yeah. Well, I'm available for some podcasts, but we'll get to that offline. But before we do, you can go to our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com and catch her TED performance. It's a TEDx performance /talk. It is amazing what Donna did, even with her mouth going dry in the middle of it. Just amazing. You can check out her website at listenforlife.org, as well as donnastoering.com. Donna's last name is spelled Stoering, donnastoering.com. And we'll be back in just a moment with Donna Stoering for the final word of advice. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at BeTheTalk.com. And we're back. It's time for the final word of advice with Donna Stoering.
I have no idea. Ask me another question.
Gotta give the final word of advice. So not everybody's a performer, but everybody is a performer, because when you walk out on that stage, it's go time. So what's your advice for people that are performers as well as non-performers who become performers?
Okay, sorry. I would say it really helps whether I'm speaking or I'm performing, or both. I always I pick somebody in the audience, even if I can't see everybody. I'll pick someone and I aim what I'm saying to that person. I try and make eye contact, and I'll think about a friend or someone that I want to share that message or that piece or that idea with. And in my head, I'm speaking to that person. And that seems to help me phrase what I'm trying to say in a way that doesn't sound too intellectually or a lecture-y or a preachy.
Well, Donna Stoering, thank you for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Be the Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.